10 in the morning, 1 hour, 405 million shares. Watch this hour. That is a packed crowd. The 10 o'clock candle alone did 37 million shares in 5 minutes. By 1 in the afternoon, the same market is down to 212 million. Same session, almost half the shares gone. So here's the question. If the crowd walks out every afternoon, and they do, what happens to a price that prints while they are gone? I will show you the same clock on 3 other sessions. I will keep the last hour until the end. Stay with this. Start with that same session, opening bell to close. The first 30 minutes already did more than 217 million shares. Then 10 o'clock hits, and that hour does 405 million. That is the loudest morning hour of the day. Now walk it forward. 11 o'clock, 304 million. Noon, 242 million. 1 o'clock, 212 million. The crowd did not crash. The crowd emptied on a schedule. Price that afternoon barely moved. The session closed down 0.18%. The whole session ranged about 45 points. A stranger looking at the close would call it a nothing day. It was not a nothing day. It was a day with 2 different crowds. I am going to show you the second crowd is not a one-off. Different session, same clock. 10 in the morning, 455 million shares. 1 in the afternoon, 208 million. That is not close. The morning hour did more than twice the 1 o'clock hour. The 10 o'clock candle that day did 45 million shares. The 1 o'clock candle did 17 million. Same 5 minutes, a third of the crowd. And the close? Up 0.2%. Another quiet scoreboard, another loud morning, and a hollow afternoon. I want you to hear this as a schedule, not a story. Nobody had to cancel anything. Lunch happened. Desks stepped away. The shares dried up because they always dry up. One more, because 2 can still be a coincidence. Third session. 10 in the morning, 398 million. 1 in the afternoon, 191 million. That is the emptiest 1 o'clock of the 3, less than half the morning hour. The 10 o'clock candle did 43 million shares. The 1 o'clock candle did 18 million. This one closed up 0.6%. Green close, same hollow middle. 3 sessions, 3 mornings that were loud, 3 afternoons that were not. The scoreboard called one of them red, 2 of them green, and none of them a volume story. Volume never makes the headline. The clock is the headline. So what is actually happening at lunch? Because it is not a mystery. Let me slow this right down. Overnight orders hit the open. The first half hour is the argument from the night before getting settled. Then the morning desks work their business. That is why 10 o'clock is loud. Then lunch, people step away, the shares dry up. 1 o'clock is not a special hour. It is the hole in the middle of a U. I can show you that U on a 4th session, the heaviest morning I have on disk. 10 o'clock, 545 million. 1 o'clock, 255 million. Last hour, 737 million. Morning loud, middle empty, close louder than both. That is the shape. Across 38 full sessions on my disk, the 10 o'clock hour beat the 1 o'clock hour every single time. The last hour beat both, every time. The closest those 2 hours ever got, the morning was still almost 1.5 times the afternoon. The quietest 1 o'clock anywhere in that archive still did 155 million, and that morning had already done 307. Same hole. The shape is not the danger. The danger is what price is allowed to do inside the hole. Here's why this costs people money. Price moves easily when almost nobody is trading. A break that prints at 1 o'clock is a break with half a crowd. On that first session, the biggest midday bar was 1240. It dropped almost 8 points. Volume in that noon hour was 242 million, well under the 405 that had already printed at 10. On the heavy morning session, 1250 jumped 8.5 points, while that noon hour was doing 285 million against a 545 million morning. Those are not huge moves, they are cheap moves. Cheap because the crowd was thin. If you treat a midday print like a morning print, you are reading a half-empty crowd as a packed one. The scoreboard does not tell you which crowd you have. The clock does. Now the number I held back. On that first session, the last hour exploded to 609 million shares. The biggest hour of the day. Bigger than 10 o'clock. Bigger than anything in the middle. In the last 5 minutes of that session, did 210 million shares by themselves. That is almost the entire 1 o'clock hour in one bar. Second session, 589 million in the last hour. Third, 560. Fourth, 737. They leave, then they come back. The U is not a fade. It is a lunch break with a last hour rush. That last hour tape is where the day often tells the truth, because the crowd is actually there. A 1 o'clock break that cannot hold into the last hour is a break that never had a crowd. Watch who is still there at 3. So back to the question. 405 million at 10. 212 million at 1. Why? Because the market keeps a schedule. The open is an argument. Lunch is a hole. The last hour is the crowd coming back. 3 honest limits. This is 38 sessions, not a law of every market forever. I am telling you the shape I can measure. I am counting S&P 5-minute volume, not every name on the board. A quiet index hour can still be loud in one name. And I am not telling you to fade every lunch print. I am telling you to ask who is in the crowd before you believe the print. 405 at 10. 212 at 1. That is not a coincidence. That is the clock. Next time we stay inside one of those last hours and take it apart bar by bar to see what a session has to do when the crowd actually comes back. The letter is free at trenchtom.com.